why is it always the oppressed side of the conversation? Why is it always that community that has to stay reasoned and calm? I really try for my platform to be a positive place that focuses on joy, and particularly focuses on queer joy, trans joy, gender euphoria, all these kinds of things. But my gosh, does this world make that so difficult, because there are so many things going wrong. There are so many people that I care about who live in fear for their lives and for their ability to just be who they are. It is really hard to just stay positive when so much of the world is a negative place for people like us. And yeah, I say people like us. If anybody watching this thinks that they don't personally know someone who's going through this stuff, you do, because you know me, and this affects me. This affects my community. Anyway, back to talking about Joe Rowling yet again. It's so hard to talk about because I'm pissed. I'm mad, and I try to be a really positive person and a really empathetic person and someone who sees all of the sides to something, and it has almost torn me apart trying to reason through all of this, trying to see the possible other side. I find it so unfathomable to be so inhuman that you throw a whole community under the bus so that you can feel safer, so that you can feel more valid in your identity. It's so hard for me to wrap my brain around, and I've really, really tried to, and that's the thing. Joe Rowling is not making that effort. The term TERF, which is literally just the acronym for trans exclusionary radical feminist, is not the same kind of expletive four-letter word that conservatives and other people like Joe Rowling want to make it out to be. The amount of I am the victim that Joe Rowling has brought into this to boost her side of things, it's just false, first of all. It's a very defensive thing, and it's very immature and ignorant in a way that I didn't think that she was. So, exactly 1 year ago today, I recorded a video to kind of try to provide some insight into all of the controversy going on with Joe Rowling. It's a long video. I know it was long, so it's okay if you haven't watched it. But basically in that video, a lot of it was about the notion of separating art from artists and the complications that arise there when someone is so toxic that they're endangering people with their toxic viewpoints. At no point in that video did I support Joe Rowling and what she's doing. I made it very clear that I do not agree with both the things that she said and the way that she's handled herself and the way that she's dug her heels in, and has continued to do so in the year since that video. There was a part of me that really didn't want her to win, if it's even that simple. I didn't want her to be able to take away that joy and that magic that I had gained. But of course, everything was now tainted by this. Knowing how she views people and chooses ignorance over education, chooses fear over love and compassion, it's just in direct contradiction to the messages and the themes that I had taken from her series. You know, I could kind of compartmentalize and separate art from artists in that way, because I was like, this doesn't make sense, because this public-facing person on Twitter is very different from whoever created this story that's all about compassion and empathy. So I talked a big game about separating art from artist, but I also didn't go watch the new Fantastic Beasts movie. That was the first time that I would be thinking about, am I going to financially support something that was made after these transphobic comments came out? As I worked on separating art from artist, I realized that the only possible avenue for that was in separating art from artist with the already created content that was out there. So the books and the movies that I already had nostalgic memories attached to still didn't really happen. Still got sort of an icky feeling whenever something Harry Potter would come up. And I got angrier at Joe Rowling every time that happened, because I hated that she had taken this away from me. She had taken the joy away. And again, I didn't want her to win, so I was like, I need to separate art from artist so that I cannot let her win. As the year went on, and particularly just in 2023, like the year that we are currently in, so much has already happened that it's becoming less difficult to pick a side, because as Joe Rowling continues to dig her heels in, the world is becoming a more transphobic place. It's becoming really polarizing to be a part of the trans community and see daily how much people are desperate to be heard and to be valued and loved as they are, and to not be feared, and to be able to just exist and have basic rights. And if you're not in that community, or you're not at least adjacent to that community, you just have no idea what's going on. You have no idea how many laws and bills, and it is so hard for people in this community to feel like people actually care about them and what they're going through. It is so incredibly sad and frustrating to see that, to witness that. I'm at fault for that as well, because before I really was leaning into my own journey with gender and identity, I wasn't aware. There's so many amazing, strong people with incredible stories and grit, and I feel honored to know these people and be in community with them. But anytime I step outside of that and I see the rest of the world just not paying attention, it's both incredibly disheartening and very, very eye-opening. And it makes things like this situation with Joe Rowling sadly make sense, because the world just doesn't care. And you can't force people to care and be compassionate and have empathy for other people. I wish you could. If I could have a superpower, that would be my superpower. Be making people care about things they should care about. So all of this really toxic, dangerous transphobia, trans ignorance is going on. And not even like 2 weeks after Trans Day of Visibility, when, you know, it's in the zeitgeist to talk about trans rights and everything, we get the announcement that they're doing a new Harry Potter series on HBO. And for a split second, I was like, maybe this will be okay. Because when HBO did their anniversary special, Joe Rowling was not at that. That to me was a statement that HBO was like, Joe Rowling is toxic for our brand. We don't want anything to do with her. But I opened up the article with this press release about the new series, and very early on I saw that Joe Rowling is an executive producer. And it feels like a nail in the coffin on my ability to hope for things to turn around. A while ago, I think I stopped really actively hoping that Joe Rowling would come around, but I was still hoping that anybody who was affiliated with the Harry Potter franchise would decide to distance themselves from Joe Rowling, and it just didn't happen. So I'm not planning to watch the show, and that is a big deal for me, but I just can't support anything that Joe Rowling is involved with. And I wish that more people cared about this, and I don't know how to make them care. I don't have a big platform, and I don't know how to be louder. I feel like me being the avid Harry Potter fan that I was for so much of my youth and adulthood, honestly, the most that I can do is be very vocal about being anti-Joe Rowling. To me, that's a really big statement, but that's just a statement for people who are in my circle. If you need something to watch, I recommend the Trevor Project series that Daniel Radcliffe did, where he's actually talking to trans people about their experience and how to be a better ally. That right there, that's the type of content we should be investing in. So go make a donation to the Trevor Project, and yeah, have a good day. Here I am, being well-reasoned and balanced again, even though I am just so angry.